So one day, people commented on my last TikTok telling me to go dumpster diving and take whatever I find to the pawn shop. And I wasn't really finding anything, went to this bookstore, didn't find any books. Then I went to this dumpster, hopped in, and started digging around until eventually, after hours of dumpster diving, I found a Star Wars Pez dispenser that I took to the pawn shop. I walked in the store and he said,
"What in the world is that?"
"I've had this for a very long time. One of a kind Star Wars Pez dispenser."
Wow, that is pretty cool. No candy in it. Do you eat all the candy? It's worthless.
You just gotta buy the candy. I mean, it's a collectible. And then he asked me how much.
What do you think it might be worth?
$30.
How long have you had it?
Like, years.
Oh, is it like this one?
Then he started comparing it to ones on eBay.
Pez dispenser. You sure you didn't buy this on eBay for 99 cents?
That one looks different. I then did my best to convince him the true value of it.
I'd probably give you 50 cents because I think it's kind of cool.
And I knew I had to do it. He gave me the 50 cents and I used half of it for these Skittles. I was a winner after all.
I got my money back.
So this is part 2 of pranking my parents by dyeing their entire pool red with 3-day party pool dye. I got the pool entirely red, well, pinkish, and then I got the reaction. They looked pretty astonished at first and didn't really say much, but eventually they seemed kind of mad.
What the hell? How are you going to get it back to the normal color?
Not gonna. It's food coloring. I'm just kidding.
What is it?
It's like a 3-day party pool dye.
Oh, and I was like, this dye
I thought I was going to have to drain the whole pool.
So one day I wanted to attempt to build shoes that would make me walk on water. So I went to Walmart and bought water repellent spray, some foam board and some duct tape, and then I got to work building these shoes. This board floats pretty well like this. Then I sprayed it completely down with the water repellent, sprayed some on myself, then duct taped the boards to my foot like so, until eventually I had perfect water shoes that would allow me to run on the water. I stepped off the dock to start walking. Yeah, it broke. So it's rubber band ball part 73, and I about knocked over a fan with it and struggled to make it over to the scale, but weighed it in at 800 pounds. But we're going to add even more bands. And the ball still looks kind of broken, so hopefully after we place all these bands, it looks a lot neater. And the ball is finally getting close to 1,000 pounds, which is what the scale maxes out at. And we kept turning the ball to make it as round as possible. And after a long while of placing bands, we were finished. And the ball does look a lot neater. I jumped on it like this. Then it accidentally moved the couch when I was trying to make it over to the scale. Brendan tried pushing it on, but failed alone. So we both had to push it, and it weighed 829 pounds. Then pushed it off and took it outside to show the cows. Yeah, they thought it was pretty cool. Like if I should keep on going. So one day I ordered jumbo Orbeez to see if they were that much bigger than regular Orbeez. I filled it up in this container full of water, and I didn't know how much water to add, so I just added this much, and 24 hours later, it all looked like this. They were really big. Here's a size comparison to regular Orbeez. They looked like little bouncy balls, so then I tried to bounce them, and then this one broke. So then I took this one and bounced it and broke it like this. But they look so cool I decided to taste one. Don't try them. Then we found this clear one that turned me upside down, and this one was even more round. So let me know what else I should do with these. So one day I was back at it working on my almost 1,200 pound rubber band ball. We had 25 pounds of rubber bands in front of us that we looped one by one into basically 2 giant rubber bands that we could then wrap around the ball like this, which is honestly kind of satisfying to watch. And at the end we can also put it on the scale to see exactly what it weighs. Here's the scale that I spent a lot of money on, and it's supposed to read up to 5,000 pounds. But it doesn't read right unless you stand in this exact spot. Our first goal was just getting it to the scale, which is hard enough because it weighs over 1,200 pounds and is really hard to stop. And here was the real challenge, getting it up the ramp, because the problem is the ball is not perfectly round and it rolls everywhere. It honestly looked impossible, but we eventually got it in the exact spot. And it weighs pretty close to the estimate of around 1,200 pounds. So like for more. So it's now part 47 of the giant rubber band ball. I let it hit a ramp and then got out 25 pounds of bands, dumped them all out into a pile, and started placing them. And this was a lot of bands, the most I've ever placed. So I thought, how could I do this more efficiently? And I had the idea, pay someone. So I paid 2 friends that day to finish up this pile. And they got busy placing a lot of bands while I watched occasionally, and then switched in and out even once. But then they kept going until eventually they had a much smaller pile left and just threw that pile on and it was done. And it now weighs 213 pounds. And I also decided to spray paint it because I saw a comment that told me to. Like if I should keep going. So one day, after trying to experience Minecraft in real life with my homemade Minecraft fishing pole and boat, I failed and sunk the boat and only caught this carrot. But in Minecraft you can multiply your carrots by farming them. So that's what I'm going to try. I took my hoe and started hitting the land. And then I made a spot for my carrot. I pushed it in, let it sit in the ground, and then I planted another one right here. Bam. Yeah, I waited a couple Minecraft days until bam, I had way more carrots. Which gave me another idea. Tame a horse. But you normally use apples, but I'm gonna try carrots. I'm gonna make a horse my best friend. I went out and found this donkey. I gave it a carrot, and then I moved on to the horse, and it loved me. I could see the hearts forming above its head, and it was my stallion. So one day someone commented on my video with a pool of millions of Orbeez that I should fill this car up with Orbeez. So that's what I'm gonna do. So with the help of my friend Brennan, we transferred a bunch of the Orbeez into this car. I got in, and this is what it looked like. It was really cool. The Orbeez felt like a sea seat cushion. Look at them flying when I was driving. It was crazy. My legs were completely underwater in Orbeez and they were just flying everywhere. I kept on driving all around and then I decided to open up one of the doors to see what it looked like, and it was really cool looking, and then it slammed on me and they flew at me. I let some out here and then ran them over and then drove off. So one day it was rubber band ball part 75 and I rolled it across the warehouse and then put it on the scale and it weighed 842 pounds. We dumped out a whole bunch more rubber bands and got to placing. The ball is really heavy and hard to move around, so we do our best to not place the bands in the same spot and try to keep it as round as possible. We finished the pile and the camera just doesn't do the ball justice. I moved it to the distance to kind of get an idea of how big it is, and then I slammed into the ball, dunked on it, totally done, and then tried to move it with the hoverboard but failed, so I spun around and put it on the scale, but we kind of broke it and it wouldn't read, but it's probably 870. So one day I rented a one-man bucket lift to drop my 160-pound rubber band ball on top of stuff. And the first time I went up, I just dropped it on nothing to see how it would bounce. And here it was. Bounced pretty high. And remember, don't try this at home. Then we got out this car to smash. Here's the slow-mo. It put a pretty big dent in the roof. Then my dad went up and dropped it on it. And it put another pretty big dent in the roof. Then I moved onto the windshield and completely caved it in. Here's that slow-mo. And then I did it again. Here's an inside perspective. Yeah, the car was pretty crushed. And then I dropped Mentos and Coke. And this one was the best rocket I ever done in my life. Just look at it. Like if I should crush some more stuff. So one day I decided to test flex tape on a fish tank. I bought a robo fish to go along with it to swim in it. Then I opened up the tank, filled it completely up with water to the top, and then put the fish in and it started swimming. It was pretty cute, and I also gave it a little home. Now it was time to try to break the glass to see if flex tape would repair it, but the glass just wouldn't break, so I decided to use more extreme measures, this hammer, which eventually was too much and completely shattered it. Here's the slow-mo, and the fish just flew out. Poor fishy, but I still had the flex tape. I put it on and it looked like this. The fish still didn't have much of a home. So one day I went into my room full of packing peanuts and I had an idea. Fill this inflatable dinosaur costume completely up with packing peanuts. I walked around, fell down, threw a bunch of packing peanuts in the air like this, and then decided to get to work. I taped up the seams and holes like this, and then just began stuffing it as much as I could. I wanted to make a completely stuffed dinosaur teddy bear, but the zipper broke, and I tried to tape it, but it didn't really work, so I just threw it on the ground and body slammed it. Yeah, let me know what else I should try. So I'm now to rubber band ball part 43, and I got another box of rubber bands. I dumped them out, and these bands are even thicker than the last ones. I then dumped out another bag and got to placing them. And it was way easier to place these bands because they're twice as thick, and I got a lot more done with less time. I finished it up, and then I took it all the way downstairs to weigh it, and it weighed in at 149 pounds. I then took it out to the street to try to pick it up, and just look at it next to my head. It's huge, and I couldn't pick it up. Like if you want me to keep on going. So one day I decided to make a giant paper airplane out of this board stuff. And my first design was just a basic airplane that had a problem of the nose going up. Except for this one flight that did really good for some reason. But I looked up on the internet and there were some ways to fix this with this type of design that kind of helped. But I ended up making a whole nother plane with a slightly different design, taking them to this cliffside. I first tested the planes off this little hill and they did pretty decent. And then I threw them off the cliff. And the first one just kind of went and then nosedived. And the second one went up, and then also nosedived. And I took them back up and tried again, and the first one was doing really good until it flew in the tree, and the second one was doing really good until the wind picked up a lot and made it nosedive. The planes eventually fell out of the tree, and I had a few more good flights, including this one. So I think I'm just going to wait for a less windy day and try again. So one day someone commented that I should make a second rubber band ball, and I already have 3. This one, and my giant one. This one's huge. I can sit on it, but not sit on the other ones because they weigh 0.6 pounds and 15 pounds. Well, the giant one is 777 pounds, but I'm still waiting on a shipment of bands, so I'm going to add on to the other one. I just grabbed a bunch of random bands at Walmart, then went back to the warehouse, threw the ball on the table, dumped out a bunch of bands, and got to placing. I started with all the colored bands to make it look really cool, and it did. It ended up looking like this. It was cool. Then I moved on to these ones to make it really tight and compact. And after a while, I was done. Here it is. Rolled it off the table and compared it next to the giant ball, then my head, and then threw it as high as I could. And it's pretty bouncy and weighs 17 pounds. Like if I should keep doing this ball too. So one day someone commented that I should fill my inflatable hamster ball up with all these packing peanuts that were in this room. So that's what I did. I then pushed it downstairs to get in and air it up. I got in, let it air up for a little bit, and then I got a snowball thrown at me. Ow. And then I kept on airing it up until it was full. And it was really cool inside and soft. I splashed around all the packing peanuts and then did a roll, and it didn't even hurt because all the packing peanuts cushioned my rolling. I then kept on rolling, and it looked like a popcorn machine. Here's the inside of it. And then me running as fast as I can and falling into the packing peanuts. Then I wanted to see if I could completely hide in the packing peanuts like this, and it worked. Here I am though. I then ran a little bit more, got tired, and got out. Let me know what else I should try. So one day I put my rubber band ball back on the zip line to crush some more stuff. I went to Walmart, got this thing, this lamp, this clock, and this other clock, and this weird picture. I put the lamp together like this, and then I first started with the alarm clock and shut it right off. Then hit it with a baseball bat. And then I did the other clock like this. And after that, we set up the picture of whatever this thing is. And it got crushed. Then we put this thing and put the GoPro inside, and it made a cool looking slow-mo. But there wasn't enough damage, so we did it again. And again. Just look at it, getting smashed. And then I just hit it with a baseball bat. Then hit the lamp. Let me know what else I should smash. So one day, after people kept commenting for me to spend 24 hours in the storm shelter, I decided to sleep in it. I shoved an air mattress down there, had my MREs, and I was ready to sleep in it. I then left and came back later that night to actually sleep in it, because I wasn't going to stay in there the whole time. I set up my lantern, turned on these lights, and I was ready to go. And it was pretty cool. I laid down and tried to go to sleep, and then my brother came out to check on me like 2 hours later. We talked for a bit, he told me the time, and then he left, and I ate my MREs. And I didn't put water in the eggs for they were bad, but the ice cream sandwich was still good. And then I went to sleep. And here I was the next morning, and it wasn't that bad of sleep. So I'm trying to live another day like I'm in Minecraft. The first thing you do in Minecraft is chop down a tree, which wasn't really working well for me. I tried shaking it, but it didn't fall down. So the next thing was building a house, which I just tried to do with materials I found around me. So I started placing these stones like this, and then I found these random wooden planks. Yeah, totally. Made a little structure, tried to use cardboard, but it failed. So I just put this air mattress over it, and I had a little base. And next was trying to survive in the snow biome. In Minecraft, you can build a campfire, so that was my first goal, build a fire. I tried rubbing sticks together, but it wasn't working. So then I remembered flint and steel, like you actually use in Minecraft. I put some sticks, this, and started trying to spark it, but it wasn't really working. Until somehow it definitely lit without me using lighter, totally. I added more sticks and leaves to make the fire bigger, and remember, don't attempt this. I'm a pro. I made the fire, I was warm and ready for bed. Comment any other ideas I should try to survive Minecraft style in real life. So one day I bought a ton of cardboard sheets at Walmart to build the biggest cardboard boat I could make while still functioning. And I used to make cardboard boats all the time, but I hadn't made one in a while, and I felt like making a huge one. I pieced the boat together, taped it up completely, taped all the flaps down, flipped it over, taped this, and then put a bunch of sheets in the bottom. And after that was taped completely, we flipped it back over and then added another sheet, taped that down fully, and then I decided to add some Flex Seal. I did this to help waterproof the boat, and then I sprayed this on there. But I ended up coming back the next day and adding another coat anyway because it felt flimsy still. After that was done drying, it was time to test it out at the creek. I put it in the water, got in, and laid down. That was the only way I could be stable. The current wasn't very strong, so I tried to row without much luck, and then I saw a leak, and the boat started to collapse in. I kept on pushing, trying to stay afloat, but with no luck, we eventually went down, and I was never seen again. Not really, but I was pretty sad. So one day someone commented telling me I should make the plane even bigger, so I put two boards together and made the plane even bigger. Here's the new one. But it still had a problem. The tip was raising up, so we added some weight on the tip, and it flew pretty good. Here it is flying into a tree. But I wanted to get it up on this roof to throw into wide open spaces, so I threw it up and then tried to figure out how to get up. And then I found this thing and used it as a ladder. I was up, and here's the first throw. It was kind of bad, but the next flight was actually pretty good. But I still wanted a perfect flight, so I threw it again, and this one looked like it was going to be perfect until it raised up a little bit and then did a flip. And then I threw it again, and this looked like the best flight yet. It was just sailing until it hit a tree. I also tested this store-bought plane, which flew pretty good, and then gave this one last throw into the field. And I'd say this plane was a success. So one day I was dropping my giant 160-pound rubber band ball off a bucket lift, and I had some cool stuff to drop on it, including an inflatable pool, an air mattress, and a giant water balloon. I started with this, and it did that. Here's the underwater slow-mo. It hit the water so hard it did this to the ball. Then I got out the air mattress and dropped it on it as well, and it didn't even pop. Look at it. But it did lose some bands when it dropped. So then I tried again with the pineapple on it, but I missed the pineapple. Then I did the water balloon, and it completely smashed it. Here's the slow-mo. And then it rolled off and went into the woods, and it just kept going down this very steep hill. Like if you want to see how I get it out. So it's now rubber band ball part 71, and this ball is insanely massive at 750 pounds, but we're going to make it even bigger. And this time, half the bands are these half-inch bands that I've never tested before, so we'll see how they go. And the bands were just really tight, so we ended up moving the ball to see if it would make it better, and it did, because none of the bands been placed on that side that much. And it also helped make the ball more even. But eventually, after a long time, we were done. The ball is huge. Here I am time trying to stand on it and walk on it and almost fall. I dropped some Orbeez on it, threw a water balloon at it, and crushed a water balloon, and then weighed it in at 777 pounds. So like this video if you want me to keep on adding bands. So I'm now all the way to rubber band ball part 70. It knocked over all these crates. Then I zeroed out the scale and weighed it in at 730 pounds, and it was time to add a bunch more bands. So my friend Brennan and I got busy placing this entire pile, which took so long, and we ended up taking a break and coming back the next day to finish it. But eventually it was done, and the ball is now even bigger. Look at it next to my head, me jumping on it, then me rolling it to Brendan, him rolling it back even faster, then dunking on it, and we weighed it back in at 755 pounds. So like if you want me to keep on adding bands. It's rubber band ball part 88, and the ball weighs over 1,100 pounds. And it's going to take a very long time for us to build this ball up to the world record. So comment if you really want me to keep going. We looped 2 giant piles of our bands, did some jump rope with one of them, and then decided to place them on the ball. And while we're doing this, sometimes we forget about the fact that we're in front of an 1,100 pound rubber band ball. It's kind of crazy. We finished the ball and it's huge at 1,125 pounds. Comment your ideas for it. So this rubber band ball is just completely insane now. We dumped out all these bands to place on the ball and got busy looping each one. We looped the pile into 2 big strands of bands like this. It's really hard to move, but we pushed it to the center, and then we're starting to place the big loops of bands like this. And these videos cost a lot to make, so it's really helpful when you like and comment on it. My phone just doesn't do this ball justice of how big it is. It's so hard to push, and it's just so cool. And really hard to control because it weighs 1,150 pounds. So one day I made this elephant toothpaste TikTok, and it didn't really work, so I kicked it and tried again with different stuff, and that kind of failed too. So I bought even more stuff thinking I just ordered the wrong thing by accident, you know, but no, that's not it. So I tried again a week later with some more stuff, but first I was going to try it in a cup with a sample amount, and it kind of worked. So I went ahead and dumped all the stuff into the big jug to see if it would work. And it looked like it didn't, so I pretended to be a sprinkler, but then it started to overflow, and I sprayed it. So it's rubber band ball part 72, and the ball's a little messed up from a video that's not out yet, but it still weighs 775 pounds, so we're going to keep on adding bands. And this time I got these special blue bands, and we began fixing up the ball and making it look cooler with these blue bands. And we kept on rotating it, that way the bands would be spread more evenly, and it would be easier to place the bands. And after a very long time, we were done. I about crashed into the wall, then jumped on it, and dropped my phone. And this ball is completely insane. Here's next to the little ball next to me, and then I struggled to put it on the scale, but got it and weighed it at over 800 pounds. Like if I should keep on going. So I'm now to part 69 of my giant rubber band ball, and it's now over 700 pounds, but we're going to get it even bigger. I dumped out 25 pounds of bands to place on the ball, and I started placing with the help of my friend Brendan. And we actually placed 3 bands at once the whole time to make it go by a lot quicker. Until eventually we were done. I stood on it and then tried to walk on it and tried to walk again. It was actually kind of successful. Then I pushed it over here, dropped this ball on it, jumped on it, and then we tried to figure out how to get on the scale and weighed it in at 727 pounds. So like if you want me to keep on adding bands. So it's rubber band ball part 74, and the ball won't fit through a doorway. It's over 800 pounds, and it's looking kind of rough, but we're on our way to 1,000 pounds, and we're going to get it. We dumped out a bunch more bands, and we've been using this same band for a while. They still work on the ball, but we almost need bigger bands. We kept on placing until it was done. And it's actually getting hard to jump on because it's so tall. I pulled a stray band onto it, and then crushed this box, and then pulled it to the scale. And at first, the scale was acting broken, but eventually it weighed in at 842 pounds. So, like if you want me to keep on adding bands. So one day someone commented that I should put really long pants on my kangaroo shoes to make it look like I was just super tall. But I couldn't find pants big enough, so I had to figure out how to create my own. I took 2 pairs of really big cheap jeans that I cut up to get around the kangaroo shoes like this, and duct taped it all on. I looked like some kind of weird cyborg, but it didn't look half bad. I tried to stand up with a fail, and then it was eventually up, and I felt pretty tall. I played basketball with the jeans on, and I finally looked like an NBA player. I then just took it outdoors where I looked like some type of farming cyborg. Then I just ran off into the jungle. So one day it was rubber band ball part 44, and first I had to get the ball out of the zip line. I got it out, and then I had to carry it all the way upstairs. I made it up, and then I took it to the room where I placed all my bands and got to place them. I placed the entire pile of like 15 pounds of rubber bands for quite a while until I was done, and I carried it all the way downstairs and weighed it in at like 164 pounds. Then I took it out to the street and just look at it. It's massive. Can't pick it up. I just can kick it. Like if you want me to keep on going. So I'm now all the way to rubber band ball part 48. I dumped out 5 5-pound bags of rubber bands and got to placing with some help because this was going to take a long time alone, and this was a lot of bands. We kept placing and eventually had all the blue paint covered, and then eventually we got tired and took a break and then came back and finished off the entire pile until there was no bands left. Put it on the scale and it weighed in at almost 240 pounds. And it takes 2 people to pick it up. Like if I should keep on adding bands to it. So one day I put my 150 pound rubber band ball back in the zip line to crush this car. And it was just a parts car my dad had laying around, so it wasn't a big deal. Pulled it back and threw it at it. And here's the slow-mo caving in that door. Then we saw a cat, and then I threw it at it again. And missed because we moved the truck, so we moved it again and threw it again. And this time it nailed it. It was a pretty big dent, but I still wanted more, so we did it again. And it knocked over the GoPro. Then we did one last go, and it was like the biggest dent yet. Let me know what else I should smash. So I'm now at rubber band ball part 49, and I have 25 pounds of rubber bands again. I dumped out the whole pile, and when we began placing for a long time, as you can tell by the clouds going by in the background, this took forever. But eventually, we got the entire pile done. And the ball is completely massive. I weighed it in at 263 pounds. And look at me sitting on it and then falling. And we can barely pick it up together. Like if you want me to keep on adding bands. So after trying and failing to fix dents with hot glue, my comment section was filled with people telling me to let it cool down for even longer. So that's what I'm going to do. Here I am. Here's the time lapse of it cooling all the way until I didn't even have to touch it. And I then pulled it off and it didn't work. However, it is a pretty big dent. But there's other comments that said to try a plunger, so I tried that for a long time too, using fire and this plunger. This one might have worked if it was a smaller dent, so don't try this at home. So one day someone commented saying I should freeze the jumbo Orbeez, so that's what I'm going to do. I put them in the freezer, and the next day they looked like this. They were all stuck together, and it wasn't as cool as I thought it was going to be. I tried putting hot water on it, and it didn't really fix it. But I ordered some more jumbo Orbeez to test another comment, which was pouring lighter fluid in to see if it would soak them and light them on fire. But when I came back the next day, it didn't soak up any of the lighter fluid. I was disappointed, but I had one more idea, pouring all these little Orbeez onto this trampoline and jumping, which it looked really cool. Then I did a flip. So one day someone commented for me to use hot glue sticks to try to get the dents out like 5-minute crafts. And I'm going to try because I put quite a lot of dents in this car with my rubber band ball. I went to Walmart, got some hot glue sticks, and then went home to fix these dents. The little lighter wasn't big enough, so I got out this blowtorch, stuck it on, and it pulled the metal but didn't work. So I tried again and still failed. Yeah. So I got out the longer sticks with more fire, don't try this at home, and failed again. And then I tried to make a smaller dent with a bat, thinking the dents were too big, but that wasn't the case.
This is indeed cap.
So one day I filled an even bigger pool up with Orbeez. I filled the other one up with about 2 million Orbeez, and I'm going to fill this one up with millions more. And we were going to reuse the old Orbeez in this pool too, but they kind of smelled bad, so we just went with all new, and it looked like this. It was pretty insane looking and really colorful. There's millions and millions of colorful little orbs. I got in it and then splashed around, then jumped in and tried to swim across, then jumped off this mini trampoline, and I even put this inflatable zebra in there and tried to make it look like I was in a weird rap video, and fell in, like if I should add even more Orbeez. So I'm now all the way to rubber band ball part 50, which is literally insane. So I'm just going to place another pile and see how heavy I can get it. Right now it's at like 260 pounds. We placed for a long time, which was getting kind of exhausting. And be sure to comment any ideas you have for this rubber band ball now, because it's getting pretty heavy to do anything with. But we finished and we weighed it in at 287 pounds. The camera just doesn't do it justice. And then it fell on me and I exaggerated the fall, but then it actually hurt my foot. Like if you want me to keep going. So one day I ordered around 300 Rubik's Cubes to try to make one of those paintings that I keep seeing on TikTok. We made a frame, I tested it out, and it would do. It was alright. But then I had to think what I would make and how I would make it. And I decided I would make Shrek using a color grid type thing. So then I started placing cubes, and I underestimated how long it would take. It ended up taking like 4 hours. And I didn't have black, so I ended up using orange. So when I got done, I rearranged some cubes and also took some stickers off and made it look even better. And the further you go, the more it looks like Shrek. So one day, after people kept telling me to fill this giant 30-foot balloon up with helium instead of air, I went to Party City and got 2 helium tanks to try and make my dog Remy fly. First, I aired it up with the first one, like this. And it wasn't very much helium, so I got out the second one, and I really didn't end up with that much helium. Yeah, but it's super expensive, so we're going to try to make it work. I was hoping Remy would run and the balloon would fly up, but she didn't really. She ran a little bit here, and then I got scared she was going to run into a tree, so I took it and couldn't make it fly. So sad. So one day I saw a TikTok of a guy making one of those spinny art paintings, and it looked really cool, like this, and I was like, I could try that and make one. I put some flex tape on some screws in wood, made the frame, and then I squirted some red, white, blue, and green in the corners until I had this. It looked pretty neat, so I took it outside and started spinning, and it kept on going and going until it looked like this, and I didn't think I was going fast enough, so I tried again, but it still looked the same. And yeah, mine wasn't quite as good as the other guys, but let me know what you think. So one day my dog looked kind of sad, so I had an idea. Get my dog a puppy. I googled puppy and then got her one. I sat him down in front of Remy, and this was her reaction. She looked pretty happy, but the puppy didn't really know what to think. Remy taught him how to eat grass like this, and then got up real close to him, but he acted pretty shy. We named the puppy Rocco, and eventually his personality started to come out a little bit more. And him and Remy started to become really good friends. Be sure to like and follow to keep up with the puppy. And go follow him. Yeah. So one day I filled this pull-up with Orbeez in my last video, and then people wanted me to add more. And so I did. I bought like a few million more, added a bunch more water, then came back the next day, and it looked like this. And the Orbeez were a lot less watered down this time. It was just solid Orbeez for days. And when I would fall in it, I basically just got stuck, and then I tried to swim like this. Then threw some Orbeez at the camera, and tried to get on this floaty, and then skateboarded this little rubber band ball into the pool. Then I tossed it way up in the air to see what the splash would look like, and here's the slow-mo. Yeah, pretty cool. Like if I should fill this car with Orbeez. So one day, a couple months ago, I ambushed my friend Brendan with this super powerful water gun. And today I decided to do it even better. Brendan told me he was at the gym working out and about to finish up. I filled the water gun completely up like this, and then it was ready to go. Here's a normal shot, and here's the most powerful shot. Then I shot around my dogs to try to scare them. Then I was ready to ambush my friend Brendan. I waited until he came out. Then I got a clean hit on him like this. He tried to run, but I kept on shooting. Then he came back.
I was like, what?
I acted like I was going to shoot him, then I just cleaned out the pavement and his car. Comment any other ideas? So one day I wanted to spend a day in my kangaroo shoes that are supposed to make you run really fast and jump really high. They're really hard to balance on, so this is going to be hard. I tried to pick up this basketball but fell into my ball pit, so I had to scooch all the way over to the couch to get myself up. And I was up. I then did some more everyday tasks like throwing away the trash, going upstairs, which was very hard, and using the bathroom, which was hard too. Just kidding. I washed my hands, and then I had to go downstairs by scooching, and then I decided to take my dog on a walk. It was pretty good at first. She enjoyed it. Here I am running back, her following along, and then I slipped on ice almost. I tried to relax in him for a bit and watch this awesome rubber band ball guy, and then I went to the gym where I was going to get a sick workout with my kangaroo shoes. I had to have someone hand me the dumbbells because I couldn't bend over, and then I did some more curls, some pull-ups, some leg raises, and then I jumped down and was feeling good and motivated, so I decided to try to hit 2 plates. I went down and, no, was stuck. But no worries, I just got up and walked off in my kangaroo shoes. So one day I bought this $100 leaky metal boat, and I had my brother help me saw a big hole in it to take this Plexan glass and put it in with flex tape. And I got to flex taping in hopes of making my dream glass bottom boat. The front looked really solid, so we flipped it over and did the back as well. After that we let it set for a few days and then took it out to the pond. I felt ready to conquer my dreams. I pulled the boat onto the water and it seemed to be holding up pretty well. Look at it, it's amazing. I looked for some fishies inside the water but didn't see any. I wanted to travel all the way through the bridge and back, but water started leaking in the boat. But I remained calm and rowed back to shore to dump some of the water out and give it another shot. But then my brother really wanted to go, so I let him try. He did surprisingly well, rowing out very strong. And then this kayak passed him. He kept on rowing in my epic boat, and just like that, he was across, but a lot of water was getting in. So he made it back and then celebrated. So one day I ordered these bouncy moon shoes that I saw on TikTok off of Amazon. Here they are. They look pretty cool, and they're supposed to be really springy, kind of like my kangaroo shoes, and make you jump really high. I was pretty excited to test them out. I put them on, strapped it in, and then I was ready to go. And here's an up-close shot of me jumping. You can see the spring kind of activate. I ran around, jumped, and then I decided to get on the trampoline for some double spring action, and it actually kind of worked. I did this flip thing, and then I took it to the street to really test out the speed, and it actually helped me run a little bit, but jumping not so much. Then I tried to go upstairs, and it actually wasn't even that hard, so then I took it to a trail and ran a while, then came back and tried to really jump out, like if I should try to run 1 mile in these things. One day I had Purple send me a mattress to test their famous raw egg test. They basically slam a bunch of eggs on the mattress, and no matter what, it won't break the egg. Inside the mattress was these mini mattresses that were super stretchy, because that's what they're made of. Then this mask, I opened up the mattress, unrolled it, cut open the plastic, and it aired up. It was pretty comfy. I was actually super impressed by the comfort. My dog even liked it. I had all these eggs to put it to the test. I first crushed one with the mini mattresses like that, and then I threw one at the mattress, tried to push on it, fall on it, and it just wouldn't break. So I tried on the couch as well, and it still wouldn't break. And even the rubber band ball wouldn't crush it. So then I tested the eggs to make sure they were still good. Yeah, they break. So I just chucked them as hard as I could, both at the mattress and the couch. They bounced off, and then I tried the 3-egg drop test thing. I fell flat on my back eventually, like that, and the eggs were perfectly fine, even after I fell like this. So I resorted to the 1,000-pound rubber band ball, which actually crushed them. And I was like, I'm going to take this cover off and see what's inside the mattress now. And it was actually pretty cool. I ripped this thing open, which I don't think you're supposed to do, but it felt really cool. Look at it. And it even holds the egg like this. Pretty cool mattress. So it's giant rubber band ball part 82, and I got a sample amount of these giant green rubber bands to test them out. They work really well, but for now I only have these rubber bands. The ball's just over 1,000 pounds, and these bands barely work anymore. They're way too tight. We had to prop the ball up as tall as possible to even fit the bands, but after a long time we were done with the entire pile. It's a little wonky, but here it is. Then here's me jumping jumping on it, rolling around a little bit, and jumping off. And it was time to weigh it in. We got it on the scale, and it was going back and forth between 1,020 and 1,040, like if I should keep on going. So one day I wanted to build one of these air cannons that I kept seeing on videos. So I went to Walmart and got a trash can, a tarp, an elastic band, and some tape, and then I left. And I also ordered this humidifier on Amazon. It was pretty cool. I tested it out, and then I got to work building the air cannon, putting the tarp over the hole, then putting this thingy on, and then I realized I did it completely backwards, so I had to redo it until it looked like this. And it was decently powerful and ready for the fog. I put it in there, and it made these awesome rings that went really far. It was so cool. They just went forever and ever. I shot over this can, and then shot the camera like this, then shot my rubber band ball myself like this, and then started shooting the ceiling. Let me know what else I should try. So one day people were commenting saying my over 1,400 pound rubber band ball is boring now because it can barely move. But at the end of the video, this ball will be over 1,500 pounds, and I'm going to prove that we can still move it by knocking down a bunch of bowling pins. We finished looping all 50 pounds of bands and then placed it perfectly on the ball like this. And then it was time to set up these pins. I set them up, tested them out, and then set them up again for the rubber band ball. And the ball can roll with a lot of effort, but it's really hard to get it to go where you want it. We eventually knocked over a bunch of pins and then crushed this pin like this. So comment if I should keep the series alive. Now rubber band ball part 81, and I bought this new scale that weighs up to 5,000 pounds. It weighed the ball in at 990 pounds, and today we're going to get it over 1,000 pounds. I also wanted to try some different strategies, these big mover bands and looping these 12-inch bands. I thought looping these 12-inch bands sounded the easiest because you could just loop them together and then wrap them around. We dumped out a bunch of bands like this and then started looping. We looped for a while and decided to go ahead and place one on, and it looked pretty good, so we kept on going until we had the entire pile finished. We ended up with these two giant links of bands. We wrapped one all the way around it, which made me kind of dizzy, and then wrapped the other one until we were done. And the ball looked pretty good. We weighed it in over 1,000 pounds, finally. I was pretty excited. So now we just got to get to the new world record, like if I should keep going. So one day after someone commented that I should fill my inflatable dome with the packing peanuts too, I decided to do it. I dumped out all the trash bags full of packing peanuts like this, and then dumped the hamster ball out until I had this. A giant dome full of packing peanuts that was also blowing them everywhere. I threw some in the air and then threw some at the blower, and it would just hit them back at me like this. It was kind of cool, but some of them kind of hurt. I tried to see how much I could take. Then I fell backwards, fell forward, and did a flip. And here I am just chilling in the dome. Comment any other things I should try. So one day I wanted to get inside this giant inflatable dome and fill it completely up with water. I got inside with my gear, let it air up, and then began filling it up with water. I also taped up the seams so no water would get out, and then I just let it fill. But things started to go sideways. Literally, the dome was going sideways. We eventually got it kind of stable, and it looked like this cool oasis. The dome moved even closer to the woods, but it looked like it was staying stable. So now all I had to do was stay there and let the water fill up. I eventually got bored, started swimming around, goofing off, and then I discovered water was getting out of these holes. I felt defeated, but stay tuned, because if this video gets enough likes, we're gonna try again on the concrete with even more tape. So one day, to prove to the people in my comments that these shoes actually work, I took them to the gym to test their agility against my friend Brendan, who is considerably more athletic than me. We both did this bounce thing like this and did it fairly easy. Then I pushed this sled, which was a bit of a struggle, and hopped on this thing, which was also a struggle, but Brendan did it pretty easy. I eventually got the hang of the box jumps like this, but Brendan could still do it better. Then I just randomly had an urge to try a bunch of random things in the gym, like this stair stepper thing that I got going pretty fast on actually, and was still able to do it. Then my friend Austin wanted to try squatting. He did the bar first. We were trying to test if the shoes gave him a boost on the way up, but I think it just made it harder. He also tried to deadlift. Remember, don't try this at home. We are trained professionals. Then I decided to race my friend Brendan, and sadly he won. So overall, I just think the shoes make it lighter on your feet. So one day people were commenting how I was going to clean all these packing peanuts in my storm shelter up, so I thought I'd show a little behind the scenes of how we did it. I got some friends to help me. We got a lot of bags and boxes and just started filling them up. There was really no amazing shortcut around just scooping them all up and putting them into bags. But with the help of my friend Brennan, boxing them up and then dumping the boxes into the bags and scooping everything, after about an hour we got most of it cleaned up, and then we scooped the rest into this bag like this, and also picked a lot up by hand, and the rest is completely 100% biodegradable. I will be storing all of this. So one day I wanted to turn my bang chain into a real bang chain and take it to the pawn shop to see what they would give me. I put my chain in a container and filled it completely up with bang. I added a little more until it looked like this, and then I let it sit in the freezer overnight. I came back and it looked like this. The chain was super icy and tasted like bang. I thawed it out in the hot tub like this until it came off, and I had an actual bang ice block on my neck ready to take to the pawn shop along with this painting. I walked in and said,
Got some really cool stuff here.
I told them I was saving the best for last and got this out.
Salt lamp, rare stone.
Does it have a light that goes in?
I asked if he could give me about
$2.50 for it.
$2.50?
No.
that didn't work out, so I moved
One
on.
of a kind art piece here.
I wonder what somebody was smoking when they made that.
I was looking at my rubber band ball.
And I tried to convince him that it was
Go for
worth.
about 20K. He'll give me 10. We could resell.
I think he thought I was crazy, so I moved on to the best item I had.
It's an icy chain.
Does it belong to Vanilla Ice?
It's actually made out of bang.
How much you want for that?
This is some heavy ice right here. Say this is worth 10K too. Keep it in an ice chest, it won't melt.
Well, yeah. I don't think I'd give you $10 for it.
I knew it was worth way more, so I had to walk. So one day I went to my local gas station to make the weirdest, walkiest looking slush in the world. I had blue, red, Mountain Dew, and a splash of Coke slushy. Then I bought some candy like this and went home. I also decided to add some orange juice and some Sour Head Bang to the mix. I poured the Bang, then the orange juice, splashed the candy in like this, and started mixing. I stirred it for a little bit, but I wanted to get really shook up, so I poured it in this shaker bottle. I then just started vigorously shaking it all over, right here and then here, until it looked like this. I dropped a Minto in and then gave it a taste, and it was pretty weird. I let it sit overnight in the fridge and tasted it again. It was even more potent. So one day it was rubber band ball part 91, and today we're going to get it over 1,200 pounds. We opened these rubber bands perfectly normally, and then we just started looping the giant pile like we normally do. And I'm in the works to get a ton more rubber bands because we're going to have to really increase the production rate if we want to ever beat that world record. We wrapped both strands around, one and then two, like this. And there you can see all the bands we placed. Looks like a ring. I jumped on the ball and stood on it. Looked really cool. Then pushed it forward a little bit and threw another rubber band ball at it. So, like if you want me to keep on adding rubber bands. So one day after buying two of these 30-foot balloons, one that popped to a plunger and one that I tried to air up all the way, but the wind took a hold of it and popped it. So I bought a third one now to finally try to get it to 30 feet. I waited for a non-windy day and was sure to even wear gloves so I didn't get oil on the balloon. It kept on blowing up until eventually there were striations in the balloon and it popped. Here it is slow-mo several times. But that's maximum height. There was even a big cloud of dust. Comment any other ideas. This is my 1,250-pound rubber band ball, and it's part 93. Today we're going to be adding 2 boxes, which is another 50 pounds of rubber band, which will get the ball all the way to 1,300 pounds. This is the longest part where we loop the pile into 2 giant strands of bands until it was finished and we were ready to add them both on. And I asked you guys to vote on a name for the rubber band ball, and the winner is between Pablo and just the rubber band ball. Comment what you think we should do. Here I am standing on the ball, then falling off, and I just can't justify how big it is on camera. Like for me to keep on adding bands. So it's rubber band ball part 86, and my giant 1,100-pound rubber band ball needs more bands to get heavier. We dumped out 25 pounds of these bands to loop around the ball, and we have to loop all the bands now because these bands are too small to stretch around the ball, and bigger bands than this are way too expensive and really hard to find. But eventually we finished looping the entire piles, which is the longest part, but then began the shortest part, which is just looping and looping until we were done. Then we started on the other one and looped it until it was done. Tied it, and here it is. We rolled it across the warehouse, rolled it off the ramp, and the ball should be around 1,125 pounds. Like for me to keep going. So one day I ordered this stuff called Great Stuff, which is basically expandable foam insulation. And my goal was to build a boat out of it. Not just any boat, a cardboard boat, because a while back I had a series on TikTok where I tried to make cardboard boats float, and I was never very successful. But I used the best cardboard boat design I knew how to make, and then I was going to cover the entire outside in the Great Stuff. And hopefully it'll float. So I finished taping up the entire bottom, like this. And I already had a decent looking boat. Then we covered the entire bottom in the Great Stuff. And then later we covered the rest of the sides. And when I came back the next day, it was solid looking. And it was ready to be tested in the creek. I walked it down and then got in. And I started to float away. It was working flawlessly without any problem. So I just kept on rowing and having a good time. And then I about ran into a tree. And then I started heading out further. And it was the best boat I'd ever made. I just kept going. So one day, about a year ago, there was this trend on TikTok where people were making these abstract paintings and selling them on eBay for a high amount of money. I made these 2 on my own that ended up bidding for a lot, but never sold. But I'm going to try my luck again. I went to Hobby Lobby, got a big canvas and some paint, and I was ready to make a highly valuable art piece. I decided to model it after my giant 1,000-pound rubber band ball. I started spreading out this blue paint, then a lot more, and then just dumped a bunch, trying to fill the entire background and make it blue. And after it was done drying, I came back with the yellow with a lot of swirls, trying to make the ball as abstract as possible and look really cool. I added the green and started kind of just doing that and mixing around until it looked like that. Then I started splattering paint everywhere, the white stuff, and trying to make it look starry and cool. And it ended up looking like this. I really liked it. I took some pictures of it, made the listing, and I called it Time Ball and gave it a really abstract, bizarre meaning. Follow to keep updated. So one day, after seeing all these videos of people blowing bubbles with Jolly Ranchers, I had to try it out for myself. I got a bunch of Jolly Ranchers, put them all on this plate, and stuck it in the microwave for like 40 seconds. I waited until it was done, and they were like sizzling. I used this straw from my water bottle, spun it around, and tried to blow, but I only got this little bubble, so I tried again. I put them back in the microwave for a little bit less time this time, until it looked really good, so I tried again. And it was actually pretty insane. The bubbles just went everywhere. I wanted to keep on trying. I also wanted to taste it, which I did. It was pretty good. I melted some more and did one final blow. So yeah, this actually works and was a lot of fun. So it's rubber band ball part 76, and I tried to prove it weighs 870 pounds, but the scale's been broken broken, probably from the rubber band ball, but we're just going to keep adding bands anyway. We dumped out a huge pile of rubber bands and got to placing. And this really is a lot more work than it looks like, band after band for so long. We flipped it to make it cover the blue side, and then we were done. It looks really good, and it's probably within 5 pounds of 900 pounds. Here I am laying next to it and then jumping on it and trying to run on it. I pushed the ball, tried to get a run, and then fell, and then did it again. Kind of got one. Yeah, pretty cool. Like if I should keep going to 1,000. So it's rubber band ball part 84, and I got another big box with 5 5-pound bags of rubber bands. And since the bands are too big to get on the ball now, we're going to have to loop them into 2 giant strands like this. We spent about an hour doing this, looping the entire pile until we had 2 giant strands. And we didn't know the best way to go about putting them on the ball. We moved everything out of the way and then realized eventually if someone was standing on a chair and then we ran around, it was easy, but it made us really dizzy. Eventually we finished off the entire pile using this method, and then for the second pile we moved the ball over a little bit to add bands on this side, and we figured out wrapping around like this was a lot easier and took like half the time. And the ball actually looks pretty cool now. I stood on it, then we pushed it onto the scale, and it weighs about 1,070 pounds. Like if I should keep on going. It's now rubber band ball part 78, and the ball is so close to 1,000 pounds. The scales broke, but the ball should be about 945 pounds, and we're placing a bunch more bands. We eventually rolled the ball to a higher point, that way it would be easier to get the bands around the ball. We did this for a while until eventually we were done. This band flew in the sky. The ball should be about 970 pounds, and it's huge. My friend Brendan did this, then I fell off it onto a beanbag, and like if I should keep on going. So one day, after trying to make spin art that turned out alright, but not as good as I'd hoped for, I decided to try again, because everyone kept saying all I needed to do was buy more paint. So I bought more paint and this tiny canvas to try it too. I just put a lot of blue paint on there, as you can see, then green paint, spread some yellow across the edges, and I thought it was ready. It was dripping, and when it spun, paint went everywhere, and it got up to really fast, and yeah, it didn't quite turn out how I hoped. It turned out worse than the last one, but then I tried the tiny canvas, put some paint on it, spun it, and broke it, and it turned out the exact same. I was sad. So one day, someone commented on my video where I tested flex tape on a fish tank after breaking it like this, and it didn't really work. They said to try a bow and arrow in a plastic tank, so that's what I'm going to do. I got my bow out, this plastic tank, filled it all the way up, put the SpongeBob thing in there and the robo fish, and shot it. The arrow actually made a perfect hole I could try to repair. I pulled it out, and all the water was spewing out, and I kind of messed up putting the tape on, so I had to cut some more and add more quickly. The water was running out, I added a third piece, and the fish just barely survived. So one day, I let this penny decide if I would spend my $40 at Target if it lands on heads, or the dollar store if it landed on tails. It fell to the ground and landed on tails. The dollar store. The goal was to get the most bang for my buck and get like 40 items, but everything was way more than $1. I got silly string, a punching bag, the star balloon, a phone magnifier, this bubble gun, and the Sour Patch. And now it was time to test out my purchases. The Sour Patch was really good. Then I got out the silly string, sprayed it all over the wall and my brother. Then I tried to spray it all on the ceiling and it fell down. I was like, what? I hit the star balloon, blew up this punching bag, hit it too, pretty hard. Then got out the phone magnifier, which actually worked surprisingly well. I could actually see my phone way bigger. And I saved the best for last, this bubble gun. So one day my comments were amazed I was able to destroy a Nokia. So here I have another one that I bought for 25 cents. And when I slammed it, the back just flew off of it. So then I tried to roll my rubber band ball on it, and it was just kind of awkward because it wouldn't really go over it right. Eventually I just laid it down right here to run it over like this. We looked at it afterwards and it was pretty crushed. But I wanted it to be completely totaled, so I smashed it with this brick, and then I took his son, the younger Nokia. So one day I made this random kind of abstract painting that I put on eBay and made a listing and tried to sell it for $60. And I also made this spin art painting that I also listed on eBay at $50. And I promoted them through TikTok and stuff, waited around. And after a lot of time and 5 million views later, one of the paintings went all the way up to $1,000 and the other one had 50 bids going up to $14,000. I was amazed. So I decided to message the final buyer, and this is what they said. Their little sister bid on it and they can't pay. So yeah, kind of what I expected, but I was still kind of sad. It's now rubber band ball part 87. The ball is 1,100 pounds, and this is 50 pounds of rubber band. I dumped out 25 pounds of rubber bands, and me and my friend Brendan were going to loop the entire pile. He looped half the bands, and I looped half the bands until we were done, and had 2 giant piles ready to place them on the ball. We propped up the ball to its tallest form to make it easier to place them around, and then went around and around while live streaming until we had the first pile done and the second pile, and it looked like this. The ball's insane. It should weigh 1,125 pounds, like if you want me to keep on adding bands. So one day I wanted to fill this entire room completely completely up with packing peanuts. I poured out all these trash bags of leftover packing peanuts I had and then got this big bag out and topped it all off until the room was completely filled and it looked like this. It was crazy. Packing peanuts everywhere, high as the bed. I jumped in them, then got on the bed, rolled off, then rolled off this way, threw them up in the air, and fell on them. Then I laid down with the packing peanuts and dove off into them and shimmied around. And I appeared. Let me know what else I should do with these. So one day I decided I was going to beat the world record for blowing the largest bubble out of bubble gum. Here was my first attempt. And my brother's. It was pretty challenging to make my bubble any bigger. They kept on reaching the same size and then popping, so I threw some more gum in my mouth. After that fail, I had this behemoth. That popped. And another pop. Then this one got stuck in my hair. But I hadn't lost hope. I had one more awesome bubble, threw the rest of the gum in my mouth, and then gave up. And sugar crashed. So one day, after I made a video with these moon shoes, the company sent me a box, which contained the original moon shoes, a yo-yo ball, and these soccer boppers that I let my brother hit me in the face with. I then opened the moon shoes and was kind of confused. I had to wrap a bunch of rubber bands to it like this. I then stood on it, and it was pretty stable. Here's what it all looked like. I then strapped them on my feet and headed out the door, with the help of a cane. And the shoes were a little bouncy, but very hard to run in. Yeah, I'm not much faster. And here's my brother bouncing in slow-mo. And then he fell. It's rubber band ball part 94, and we're going to add 50 more pounds or 2 more boxes of rubber band. The ball is currently 1,300 pounds and a long way from the world record. We got to it, looping all these bands as usual into 2 big piles. Here was the rubber band ball in all its awesomeness, and then we just kept on wrapping the bands around the ball like this. And in not too long, bam, 50 pounds was added onto the ball, and it's just completely massive. And at 1,350 pounds, it was pretty hard for me or my friend Brendan to push it. Kind of dangerous rolling, and be sure to give a like on this video if you want me to keep on going. So one day someone commented saying I should fill this entire purple mattress grid up with all eggs. I'm only going to put about 60 eggs in there because I don't want to use that much food. I unzipped the mattress like this, and the purple grid is insanely cool. It looks like this and feels really awesome. I then opened up all the eggs and started placing them in. First one, and then a million more. Well, actually like 57 because 2 were broken, but yeah. I filled it as much as possible, and then it was time to fall on it and test them out. And the eggs did pretty good, so I got out my rubber band ball, but I couldn't even push it on, so I did another hop and then started stepping on the eggs like this, and it was crazy. They all just survived. So then I just punched one of the eggs like this and cracked it. Let me know what else I should try. So one day I decided to take my super powerful water gun that shoots really fast like this and fill it completely up with Vooz. I dumped out the water and then dumped Bang's Vooz energy into this bucket like this, completely full, and it smelled really good. I put the gun in it, filled it completely up, and it shot like this. And when I blasted the Vooz can, it put a big dent in it. Then I aimed, shot all 3 cans, knocked them off, then shot the ceiling, drank it, and then completely blasted that can and tried to catch some in my mouth like this. And I just got wet. So one day it was really windy, so I took my hamster ball out to try to make it fly away. I started bouncing and kicking up in the air, seeing if the wind would take it, and then I rolled over it like this. Then I attached this paracord to it to see if it would spin off into the air. It caught a little bit of wind, but I didn't have much luck, and then I just fell. I spun it one more time really fast like this, threw it, and then got on it again and slid off. I then randomly decided to fill it up with packing peanuts again, and it felt like a beanbag. And then I just aired it all the way up. And if this video gets enough likes, I'll fill it up with helium. It's part 92 of my giant 1,200 pound rubber band ball, and we're going to add 2 boxes, which is 50 pounds, and more than we've ever added in one video. We had all the bands ready, which was a lot, and we were ready to just loop them all. I'm slowly going to be bumping up my rate of production. That way we can eventually get the world record. We looped the entire pile until it looked like this, then wrapped each strand around the ball. There's 25 pounds, and here's another 25 pounds wrapped completely around the rubber band ball. And my phone just doesn't justify how big this ball is. It is so insane and so hard to move. The ball should weigh around 1,250 pounds now, and it's really tall. To give you an idea, I'm 6'1", and here's me jumping on it. Like if you want me to keep on adding bands to beat the world record. One day I decided to run a mile on these moon shoes to prove to the comments that they weren't just a waste of money, and see if they actually helped me run the mile faster. And I haven't ran a mile in over a year, so this is going to be pretty hard as is. And I did notice the shoes actually gave me a little bit of bounce as I ran.
I definitely can feel the boing.
Kept on running with my brother behind me until eventually we reached almost half a mile, and I was exhausted. And my lack of training was starting to hinder the accuracy of this test because I got even more exhausted and had to take another break. But we were already approaching 7 minutes, and my brother left me. Kidding, I caught him. But I kept on going, and then another issue. It broke. I had to pry the bottom piece back on the shoe and keep on running. I was completely exhausted, but I had to push through to try to get a decent time, and we were finished at 15 minutes. Comment any other ideas. So one day I took my $177 moon shoes. They're supposed to make you jump really high, and I tried to play basketball with them. I wanted to test if they could make me a better basketball player, and here's me jumping off the rubber band ball and falling. So then I took them to a gym, and it didn't start off very good. I kept missing like this, but I decided anyway to challenge the tallest guy in there to a 1v1. I missed my first shot, but so did he, so it's okay. The only real advantage I could feel was the height. I eventually made one with really bad form. Even though the shoes helped me, he was just way more athletic than me. And he was also already 6'8". But hey, look at the shoes can make me do this and this. Whoa. So one day, someone commented saying I should try to crush an old Nokia phone with my 1,200-pound rubber band ball. And I'm going to be doing this and testing the durability of a lot of older phones. And this slightly newer Nokia as well. We did a drop test with these two phones first and threw them like this and dropped a rubber band ball on them. And even rolled a giant rubber band ball on one of them and stuck it inside the rubber band ball as well. But now it was time to test the two Nokias. We did a basic drop test and the older Nokia held up the best. But now it was time to crush it. I could hear the crunch and it rolled onto the Nokia. But it honestly didn't even do that much damage. So I dropped a brick on it like this, and then dropped it on it again, and it was pretty destroyed. Comment what else I should try. So one day, after I filled this giant hamster ball completely up with packing peanuts, people kept commenting, telling me to fill it up completely to the top. So that's what I'm going to do. I unzipped the ball and started pouring until it reached the top. It was so full. I stepped into it, and it was really deep. Put my head in and put the blower in and started airing it all the way up. Once it was aired up, I rocked around, splashed the peanuts, and then started running. You couldn't even see me because of all the packing peanuts. And remember, don't try this at home. I'm a pro. I did 2 big rolls in it, like this, and then I just started running. And you couldn't even see me until I stopped. Here I am chilling. I threw some peanuts at the camera and then ran off into the distance. So one day I decided to buy 2 giant pumpkins, one 500 pounds and the other 250 pounds. We took them on a trailer to the warehouse and then scooted them off into the beanbag and then onto the floor. This one was the hardest, weighing 500 pounds. But we got them all off and here they are compared to my 800-pound rubber band ball. We weighed this one to be sure and it was 240. But this one was too heavy to weigh. We flipped up the 300-pound pumpkin and dumped out a bunch of giant rubber bands to try to place them all around it. We were going to see if we could cut it clean in half. And like 30 seconds after I got up, it started to buckle in and did this. I lifted up the top and there was a wad of giant messy rubber bands and a vine. It looked really cool inside, and then I decided to dump out a bunch of little rubber bands to place around this one and tighten it up so I could make a cool ball, but it didn't really bounce very well. Let me know what I should do to the other pumpkin. So one day, after everyone kept commenting, telling me to take my 1,000-pound rubber band ball back to the pawn shop like I did a year ago when it was only 100 pounds, I finally went back and showed the man a picture.
Wow, that looks like a wrecking ball.
Now weighs over 1,000 pounds. Should you look at it tomorrow?
And I convinced him to come out to my warehouse tomorrow morning to tell me what he thought it was worth. So the next day, he came out.
There he is. Here's the ball. Everyone's been wanting you to see it for a long time. Last time I brought it in the store, like only 100 pounds. Now it's 10 times the size.
Wow.
Try to move it.
There's one big ball.
I let him move it around, and then I pushed it down to show him just how heavy it actually is.
It's like a wrecking ball.
Have you thought about maybe selling it to a wrecking ball company?
I think it's like worth more and it's like artness.
How much you want for
I
it?
thought about the price and then told him how much I had in bands
Probably a
alone.
few thousand in the rubber band.
500 wouldn't buy it?
Wouldn't be worth
We
it.
can load it up if you want to sell it.
I think I'm just going to have to pass and beat the world record, but...
Okay.
He didn't go high enough on the ball, so I just showed him some other stuff in the shop, including this ball and this aluminum foil ball.
That's a lot of foil.
And I said he could have the aluminum ball for 100, but he said that wouldn't be a good return. It's rubber band ball part 85, and I dumped out all these 12-inch rubber bands to loop them together and place them around the ball. My friend Brennan and I spent about an hour looping 25 pounds of these bands until we had 2 giant strands. And since in the last video we finally figured out the best method to loop them around, that was the easiest part. Here's the final strand, and it didn't take that long until it was completely covered. I tightened it on the ball, and this is what 25 pounds looks like. And here's a painting of the rubber band ball, then me next to it, then up close. And to be honest, I don't know how to work this super expensive scale I bought very well. But between all the pounds of bands I bought, it should weigh around 1,100 pounds. And it's a big ball, like for me to keep going. So one day someone commented that they didn't think the giant balloon I bought was 30 feet. And yeah, I might not have had it aired up all the way, so we're going to try in this video. I got a completely new balloon, aired it up inside, but I thought it was too big to try and get to full height inside, so I tried to take it outside with a rope and the air pump attached to it. But the problem was it was way too windy, and the balloon felt like it was being vacuumed from the sky all the way up until eventually it popped. And bam, there went one really expensive balloon. So one day I bought a 30-foot balloon to try to pop it. I covered my head and then I got white stuff in my nose and then tried to air it up. It was really cool and it made like these waves. It aired up for a little while until it was completely full. I untied it and then wrapped some rubber bands around it, and look at it. I hit it, did some ripples, and then here's it next to the rubber band ball. I shot it with a Nerf gun, then shot a giant rubber band at it, punched it, let it run, hit it some more, and it wouldn't pop, so I threw a basketball at it, then flex sealed so one day on it. Bam. Then got out a plunger and tossed it at it, and it went pop. like if I should buy another one. So one day I found my old kangaroo shoes I hadn't seen in forever. They're supposed to make you run and jump super high. I put them on and struggled. I remember how hard they were to use. I walked for a little bit, then tried jumping, and I was struggling, so I put my hood on for safety. I then went over to the hoop, picked up a basketball, and shot it. It went right in. I guess it makes you better. But then I couldn't pick it up, so I went over to the ball and tried to see if I could really run on these. Here I am running, then dunking, and then running out in the wild, then trying to race my dog. She kind of took the lead. Then I started walking because I kind of lost my balance, but they're pretty cool. One day I decided to take this 500-pound pumpkin and carve it, make a jack-o'-lantern, and then do a giant elephant toothpaste experiment in it. And I just started off with a regular pumpkin carving kit, which wasn't going very well, so I started using a saw, got the top off, and it was super thick. It was insane. And we began hollowing it out using a bunch of different methods, the spoon, a shovel, the crowbar, and it all only took about 20 minutes until it was looking pretty good. And the pumpkin was ready to carve. I drew a pretty basic looking jack-o'-lantern face and began cutting. It actually was going pretty smoothly with the knife that came in the kit. I was shocked. I cut out the nose, the eyes, and the mouth, which was the hardest part, until it was done. It looked really good and it was time for the experiment. I poured the stuff in a bucket inside the pumpkin and then it was ready to go. And it went really fast and shut out the eyes and everything. And for not even measuring anything, it turned out pretty good. It looked really cool. I can't believe elephants brush their teeth with this stuff. So I'm now to rubber band ball part 80 and I'm gonna add all these rubber bands to my 970-pound ball. And after this video, the ball should be within inches of 1,000 pounds. And we don't know for sure the weight because my current scale is broken, but I have a new one that weighs up to 5,000 pounds on the way. Eventually, we finished the pile and it looked like this. It's insane. I crushed a can, then drank the rest of it, and then here's it next to my head, and here's the broken scale, like if we should keep on going. So it's giant rubber band ball part 77, and the scale doesn't really work anymore, but it's 920 pounds. We're so close to 1,000 pounds, and we're gonna get it there soon. This pile weighs 25 pounds, and we placed the entire thing, which took quite a while, but eventually we were done, and I jumped on it, then sat on it, then laid next to it, then accidentally rolled it into the bang and drank it anyway, like if I should keep on going. All right. So I'm in a rubber band ball part 66 and the ball is huge. Look at me behind it. You can't even see me. And I put it on the scale and it weighs 630 pounds, but we're going to get it even bigger and keep on adding bands. And my friend Brennan and I began placing bands for a very long time. And a lot of people say it looks like an egg now and not a ball, but it's very hard to keep it round because it's so big. And we try our best. And after we finished with the pile, I messed around with it, tried to throw balls on it, and then dunked with it. And I compared it next to this tiny rubber band ball and my head, then fell off of it, and took it back on the scale to weigh it in at 655 pounds. So, like if I should keep on going. So one day someone commented telling me to take my giant 580-pound rubber band ball back to the pawn shop like old days, but it's too big, so I'm going to take all this random stuff in this little rubber band ball bag.
What happened to it? Did you put it in water?
And I told him it was a different ball, then showed him a picture of the big one.
Gosh, how big is that now?
I said 580, and then he said I should just put it on eBay. And then I moved on and asked him what he'd give me for this thing.
About $50 in rubber bands, $30.
And I couldn't sell it for that, so I had to move on to this ball.
Super high.
Wow, yeah, that's cool. Did you get this at like Chuck E. Cheese?
And then I told him the price.
$16. I paid 8 for it, so I wanted to double my money.
Oh,
Yeah, we didn't end up making a deal on the ball either, so I moved on to this tiny rubber band gun. And I threw him a high ball number.
$200.
He gave me a weird look, so then I just moved on to the last
It's
item.
magic, basically.
I said it was super rare, water repellent spray, and I wanted a lot of money for it, but he didn't budge, so then he tried to sell me some stuff, including these cool shades. So one day I bought this giant slingshot to launch random stuff. I taped this side to the tree, and then the other, and it was ready to launch. So I filled up a box of water balloons, put one in, and it launched pretty good. Then the next one hit a tree. Then I had my brother stand back and shot him in his direction, and then almost hit him a few times. This one was right past him. And here's the first person. I put it in, pull it back, and launch it. Then I went to Walmart to get some pumpkins to try to launch them. I went home, and it wasn't working very well. This was my best launch. So I got mad, got on the zip line, and threw it at a tree. Then took the broken pieces and tried to launch them, and they actually did pretty well. Here's another one. Then I had some little pumpkins I also tried, and almost hit my brother. Here it is from behind, flying in the air. And here's another first-person launch. Let me know what else I should try. So one day I went to one of those warehouses that has overstocked Amazon pallets you can buy, and I bought this one for $500 to see what was in it, like a cool mystery box. I opened it up at my warehouse, and there was these pillows, a sleeping bag, a fan, a dog bed, and this automatic dog food feeder. And this thing that we didn't know what it was, but it actually ended up being a sword. And at this point, I was already happy with my purchase. Next was some camping stuff, a Christmas tree, a trash can, a nice microwave, a not so nice microwave, a bottle of water, a Serta rolly chair, this thing, and this outdoor bench. And we added everything up to be worth over $1,000. Then we tested out the sword and first used the wrong side, but then destroyed a can. And comment down below if I should try to sell all this stuff or just use it. So it's Rubber Band Ball Part 62, and I wanted to try something a little bit different this time. I took about 5 pounds of bands and looped them all together like this with the help of my friend, and we had this long strand that we tried to wrap around the ball, but it was kind of hard, so I rolled it, and that was still pretty hard, and the bands kept falling off, but eventually we got it. But we wanted to test if the same amount of bands was better just placing the normal way, and after we placed that pile, we realized it was. So we got out 3 more bags and placed the entire pile. And these videos always take so long to make, so leave a like if you actually want me to keep going and adding onto this ball. It's just huge now. Just look at it again next to a basketball. And then we put it on the scale and weighed it in at 555 pounds. So again, like if I should keep going. So I'm now to part 31 of making this giant rubber band ball, and I got another package. I dumped out this pack of pretty big rubber bands and placed the entire pile. And then, like I did last time, got a bunch of these colored garbage bag rubber bands and placed them all. And these ones placed pretty good. I finished, and the ball now weighs 81 pounds. I took it downstairs and out to the cul-de-sac, where I compared it to my head, and then got up and tried to throw it. And then I tried to throw it behind me, and then stood on it. And even tried to ramp it, but just broke the ramp. So like if you want me to keep going, and comment any ideas you have for it. So one day, it was the 4th of July, and this was a failed sparkler bomb. Don't try anything in this video at home. And this was what I thought was a smoke bomb, but it was one of these, so I blew it up on the pool, and then put one in the microwave, but it didn't go off, so we had to open it. This all left the microwave pretty charred. Then we threw a smoke bomb in the pool, and it actually went underwater. And it wouldn't hydro dip this thing. So then we got a pink smoke bomb, and it made like a little boat thing. Then I launched this plane, we threw this thing, and launched another thing, and blew up some stuff in the microwave, crushed the microwave, and threw it in the pool. And I'm going to be seeing how dirty I can keep this pool, so stay tuned. So one day I saw that I left my giant hamster ball out in the leaves for months, so I got a leaf blower, blew all the leaves out, and saw that there was still a bunch of Orbeez, so I cleaned all the Orbeez out, put them in the dumpster, and I also had to hurry because there was a storm coming. I rinsed off the hamster ball, and then decided to try to get in it with these hover shoes. I got in, and then my brother zipped me up and aired me on up. But I had to stop and get out because it got too dark and stormy. But the next day was super sunny, so I got in and tried again. It aired up, and then I put my hood on because it was kind of grimy and went off. I got on the hover shoes, spun around, walked around, and fell. Then I drove a little bit more, went off into the grass, then decided to get out and throw the hamster ball away because it was really grimy. But here's the good news. If this video gets 1.5 million likes, I'll buy a new, bigger, better $800 hamster ball. So one day I got another super strong magnet to go magnet fishing with. First I wanted to test it, picking up this chair first, then this helium tank, and it did a pretty good job, so I was ready to go fishing after I threw this frisbee thing. I first took it out to this pond to test it and threw it out, pulled in, and for a while I was getting a lot of nothing. And after a long while, eventually on a really big throw, I hooked something and pulled up this thing. Kind of bizarre. Then I dropped it and accidentally pushed it out further with my magnet, but I got it. And then the next day we went to a different pond to test. I dragged the magnet along and pulled up this. Yeah. And then I threw it back and pulled up whatever this is. It was like a coin and a really black piece of metal. And after that I felt something really hook on, but I couldn't get it. So one day I bought a watermelon because a lot of people want to know how I made this giant 600-pound rubber band ball. And it all started with a watermelon and a lot of rubber bands. And I'm going to do it all again with this watermelon so you guys can see. I put a bunch of rubber bands on the watermelon until eventually this happens. Bam. And all the rubber bands fly together and create a little ball. And I was kind of covered in watermelon, but I had this little ball, so I was happy. We threw the watermelon at the car, and then we were ready to make this ball neat. And I spent a little while double knotting a bunch of bands around this ball until it was pretty round and neat, and bounced pretty good. And I even crushed it with a giant rubber band ball, so let me know what else I should do. So one day I bought this bucket of 300 pieces of bubble gum to try to break the world record for the world's biggest bubble, which is actually 20 inches. I chewed the 5 pieces of gum up in my mouth, and then it was this big, and I tried to blow my first bubble, which kind of sucked. And so did the second one, and the third. And the fourth one was a little bit better, but it was honestly looking like I would never beat that record. So I put a bunch more gum in my mouth and tried again, and kept on failing. This was the best I could do, so I kicked the bucket over, and then tried that thing where you kick it in your mouth, and ended up kicking it on the ceiling. Yeah, this was a fail, but comment your other ideas. So one day someone commented for me to launch an egg in my giant slingshot, so I got a whole carton, put the first egg in, and launched it. I didn't get a good shot, but it cracked, and here was the second launch. It cracked too. And then this one from afar. Here's the egg and the shell, kind of still intact. Then I decided to launch 2 eggs at the same time, and it was the coolest by far. Look at it. It's slow-mo. And then I let my brother have one shot to hit me, but he missed. Then I got out a mini, and when I put it in, it was kind of like a hammock. That launched him. And I thought he was hurt, so I ran over and did CPR, and then he was okay. Then my brother missed hitting me with the minion, but I hit him, and then I hit it with a bat. So one day someone commented that I should cover my rubber band ball in Flex Seal, and seeing as I broke it and it needed a little bit of fixing because there's glass shards on it, I thought, why not? So I rolled it out to my yard and started spraying it. I sprayed all around it until it was done. Actually, I gave it a little bit more and then let it sit. And the next day I came back and it had rained, but it was still solid compared to the side that wasn't Flex Seal. I picked it up and took it out to the cul-de-sac and it bounced the same and was just kind of stale. I rolled it into the basketball goal. Boom. Then stood on it and let me know what else I should do.
Mom, do you need help cleaning the house? Because I'll wash the dishes. No, it's fine. I got it. Okay, just call me when you need me. Okay, I will. What are you doing? Taking selfies? Why? I just spent 3 hours cleaning this whole house. I washed the dishes, fold the laundry, clean the toilet, throw the trash out, and vacuum the house. While you're in your room enjoying your time taking selfies? What is this? I'm the maid and you're the princess? Mom, I literally asked you if you needed any help, and you said no, but I'll help you right now. No, I don't need your help. It's all done now, but you know what you can do? Shove those selfies right up your ass.
So one day someone commented on my video with this giant dome thing and told me to put ball pit balls in it, so I put the whole ball pit in it. And it took a pretty long time having to air it up and move all the balls in, and then I had to move them from this thing to this thing until eventually they were all in the one big circle. And it looked really cool. I fell in it, then looked around, and then ran around, and then fell again, threw some balls at the camera, tried to run, and it wasn't that deep because it was so big, but let me know what else I should do with this thing. So one day I ordered this human hamster wheel to float down the creek on. I got it out and aired it all the way up to test it out and run in it. And it was kind of short, but I made it work and I could roll in it and it was pretty cool. So then I loaded it up and took it to the creek. I put it in the water, got on it, and we were off. The only problem was the creek was pretty low and there wasn't much current that day. So I had to do a lot of spinning and tried to make it out to the current. Because further down the creek there was a little bit of a current and I tried my best to make it to it until I was there. And once I got there, it was pretty insane in this thing. Here's the video of me. And me inside, and then I just kept on going forever. No, I'm kidding, I came back, and then took a nap. So one day I got a comment that said to use Flex Seal on my giant pumpkin and then drop it, but instead I'm going to use it on a different one because I want to do something better to the other one. I gave it a nice coat of Flex Seal all around, and then I let it dry, and while I waited, we got some fireworks in my brother's poorly carved pumpkin, and then we tried to blow it up, but my brother missed, so we tried another one, and it didn't really do anything. So then I got a different one, and it was kind of cool, but the next one was way better. Then it was time for another coat of Flex Seal. I sprayed it all around, and then left, and came back later to finish off the bottom. And it was ready to drop test. Don't try any of this stuff at home. I dropped it, and it cracked. It just cracked in half, and the Flex Seal held the rest together. But I smashed it and jumped on it. And I'm probably going to blow this 45-pound one up, so stay tuned. So one day I wanted to prank my friend by surprising him with a really bad new car. So I looked on Facebook Marketplace for the cheapest cars I could find that still ran, until eventually I found this one. The car had some damage and smelled pretty bad inside, but it still ran. So we started spray painting it to make it look even worse. I wrote my name, this line, and I just wanted to make the car look as funny as possible. My friend and I added these racing stripes, and then I put a car tree in it to make it smell good. And it was finished. It looked really good, and it was ready to give to him. I invited him to the warehouse the next day and told him I had a surprise. And showed him.
What is this? It's your new car, bro. I know you've been needing a car. Well, my car's in the shop. What in the heck? Does it even run? Thanks, then.
Yeah, I know you've been needing a car.
He looked really confused and said,
What's really going on here, though?
The AC kind of works.
I told him it was his car and let him take it for a test drive. And then...
This isn't actually like my car, is it?
What, bro? Do you not like it?
And he didn't really act like he wanted the car, so my friend and I kind of got upset. After that, he spray painted it some more.
Costs about $250.
Then we did some joyriding, got on the roof, and hit the rubber band ball. So one day after filling a pool up with like 1 million Orbeez, people kept telling me to add more, so I'm adding double. Here are all the Orbeez sitting in the water, and then the next day it looked like this. It was crazy. I fell in it, and it was one of the coolest things I've ever experienced. It was like just a really weird pool. Here I am buried in it, then jumping in it, then falling in it, then doing a flip into it, dropping this rubber band ball. Here it is again, and then moving a bunch of the Orbeez into this hamster ball to try it in that. And the problem was it was just too heavy and really hard to move. So... So one day I decided to fix some of the damage on this car with life hacks I saw on the internet, starting with toothpaste to fix these scratches, which didn't end up working. So then we just moved on to the wheels using this black tire shine, and then tried to repair this crack on the windshield, and the shaving cream or toothpaste didn't really work. So then I just washed the entire car and really tried to actually detail it. I used this Dollar General leather cleaner on the cloth seats, and it looked really great. And then vacuumed the entire thing and used this plunger to get the dents out, but it actually got this dent out of the roof. So one day I got this new game called Hot Words to play with my friends, and the loser of the game would have to run in the cold creek. The game can have 2 to 4 teams, with each team having 2 people. Each team chooses a jalapeno card, which has what they can't say on it when trying to get their partner to guess a word. So then I invited my friends over to play me, and my brother. And it was all ready to play. Blake and Austin versus me and Jack. Austin drew a card and a pepper that decided his rules, and then he had 30 seconds to let Blake guess as many words as he can.
What happens when you get cut? Scratched. Yeah, it's a scar.
They progressed forward, and then it was me and Jack's turn.
Scary?
And Jack and I were doing pretty good, just naming off word and word. But the game went on, and Blake and Austin started to pick up the pace, guessing even more words, while Jack and I kind of fell off, and eventually lost. They were happy, and we ran in the cold creek at night. So one day I decided to test some water repellent spray on some stuff, including my giant rubber band ball, which I guess is already kind of water repellent, and these shoes to walk on water, this shirt, this glove, this lampshade, and this towel, these glasses, and my name. Then I came back after 24 hours to test it. The glove didn't work, and the lampshade, the water bounced right off the side that was sprayed, and not the side that wasn't. And then the shirt kind of worked. If you get really up close, you can see the water beating off of some of it. Right there. Then these glasses that didn't really do much, and this towel that actually kind of worked way better on the side that was sprayed than the non. And it made the water just sit on the surface of the rubber band ball and just run off. Then I looked at the wet concrete and my name was really there, but then I tested the shoes and it didn't work. So one day someone commented for me to drop my rubber band ball in glass. So I went to Walmart and bought a bunch of different glass items, then went home, laid out a tarp, and started with this glass vase. I set it down, then got the rubber band ball and threw it on it. And here's the slow-mo. It completely shattered and tore rubber bands off my rubber band ball. Yeah, I didn't expect that much, so I got this more solid piece of glass, laid it down, and crushed it. And here's that slow-mo. It was obliterated as well, and knocked a bunch more bands off. My ball is pretty mutilated. I washed some of the glass off, and there was a glass piece stuck in it. Comment what else I should try. So one day while scootering, I dropped my laptop and then dropped it again on accident, totally on accident. And I had to fix it, so I looked up on the internet and got some toothpaste and some lemons to repair the crack. I've dumped the toothpaste out, started brushing it really hard, and I brushed it for quite a while and realized it wasn't going to do anything. Yeah, so then I tried to fix this plate and bam, it was bigger and better, and then I broke it. But then I tried the lemon juice on the laptop, and that didn't really work either. So then I just got sad. So one day I saw one of David Dobrik's TikToks where he was kicking gum into his mouth, so I drove to the gas station to get some gum and try. I had the gum, and I was ready to teach myself how to do this. I put 3 pieces in my mouth, chewed it up, blew a bubble, set some cardboard down for the gum to fall on, and kept missing. Then I switched over to this gum and first practiced my form, then went for it. And I just kept missing and using more pieces, and I was starting to get pretty mad and using up a lot of gum. And I got kind of close here when I caught it and stuck it in my mouth, but then I just kept missing, and then got kind of close. Then I had one hit the ceiling, stick to it, and then fall back down. And then one that almost hit the camera. And then one where I knocked down the blinds. And then another close one. And I was down to 2 pieces of gum. The first one hit the ceiling, so I got another one. And it got dirty too, so I washed it off. And then after a long 26 minutes, I finally got one. And then I celebrated. David Dobrik is one talented man. So one day someone commented to put Flex Seal on the Crown Royale bottle and then see if it broke. So I sprayed Flex Seal on it, gave it a good coat. Then came back later and gave it another coat. And then came back later and gave it one last coat. And then it was time to drop it. I took it to the cul-de-sac and dropped it from waist high, and it was fine. So then I threw it up in the air, and it cracked a little bit. But the Flex Seal kept all the glass together, which was cool. Let me know what else I should do. One day I ordered a bunch of giant Legos to build a brick wall and run into it. So we built the brick wall, and then I got on the scooter and ran into it and completely nailed my nose and made it bleed a little bit. Yeah, it really hurt. So then we put it back together and took the rubber band ball to it. And after that, I ordered even more Legos because I was like, I need to make the wall even bigger. And then I tried to jump over it, which was kind of a fail. So let me know what else I should do or if I should buy more. So one day I decided to make another aluminum foil ball because I couldn't find my other one. So I took a roll and patted it down to a ball and went all around until the roll was empty. And I had this, and then I got another roll and wrapped it all around. And I ended up with this. Then I put the final roll on, patted it down. And bam, an asteroid. Yeah, it's a decent sized ball. I threw it up in the air and then I compared it to my rubber band ball. Then I dropped the 75-pound rubber band ball all over and it made it this cool chair. And then asteroids started falling to the earth. like if I should keep on going. So I'm now to rubber band ball part 67, and we actually made a couple more tiny rubber band balls. Here they are on a mini trampoline, and the big one was too big for it, so we just put it on the scale and weighed it in at 655 pounds. And now it's time to make it bigger. I dumped out a whole nother pile. Then my friend and I got to placing bands for a really long time. And the bigger this ball gets, the harder it is for it to look bigger. So we got to add a lot of bands every time. And we finished up the pile, and then I wanted to test if it would go through a doorway, and it wouldn't. It's too big now. And I failed trying to get it back on the scale, so we had to both push it on the scale and weighed in at 679 pounds. So, like, if you want me to keep on going. So one day I saw this TikTok of this guy singing, drinking cranberry juice, and riding a skateboard down the road, and I was like, that looks fun. I want to try. So I went to Walmart, got a skateboard, some cranberry juice, and then I went home. I drank some of the juice and then tried to skateboard, but failed because I guess I suck at it. So I got a ripstick instead and took off down the road and made the TikTok. A part 2 of this aluminum foil ball because a lot of people seem to like it. And no, I'm not going to be throwing away the ball at all. But anyway, this is the new process. I hammer it down and then put a new roll on. So here's the first roll, completely pat it down, and then the second roll, completely pat it down. And here's the final roll. I got finished with it, patted it down, and then took the mallet and beat it all up. And I was all out of aluminum foil. Here's me messing around and throwing it as high as I can. And here's asteroids falling from the earth. Like if I should keep on adding to it. So I've been making this rubber band ball for a long time, and it's now part 30. And I ordered another pack of these big rubber bands and placed the entire pile. And after I was done with that, I got the pile of even more of these big colored rubber bands than I did last time. And when I was done with that, the ball was looking pretty good at 76 pounds. I took it out to the street, picked it up, and threw it the best I could, and then tried again. And I ended up just laying on it and then standing on it. So, like, if you want me to keep on going. So one day I ordered this giant bubble dome thing because I saw it on the internet and thought it looked cool and had to buy it. I got it all the way aired up, and it was pretty cool looking. I opened it up, went inside, and it kind of felt like one big quarantine chamber. I was completely separated from the outside world. Here it is inside, and then I got bored and decided to put my giant rubber band ball in it. I put that in a beanbag and then chilled. So comment any cool ideas you have for this thing and I'll do them. So I'm now all the way to part 27 of my rubber band ball, and I need more bands. So I ordered these big rubber bands and started placing them. And these bands are really hard to place, so this was really exhausting. So I took a break and then came back later to place these colored rubber bands and make it look good. I placed the entire pile, and it now weighs 65 pounds. I let it roll out to the cul-de-sac, picked it up, threw it down, then tried to stand on it, then threw it again, and then my brother tried to stand on it. And like, if you want me to keep on going. So one day I ordered one of those ab stimulator things I always see advertised to test if they really work. I opened it up, read the instructions, then put batteries in the motor and put the motor on and put it on my stomach. Then I turned it on and kept pressing the button to increase the intensity, and honestly, it kind of tickled. And I decided to leave it on for a while to get the full effect and even do crunches and stuff. I had it on for a long time, and then I looked at the sunset and looked at my abs and realized it was time to take it off. And the results were amazing. Just kidding, that's not me. I'm right here, and I don't really know if anything changed, and I don't really know if this thing works, so I just threw it over the fence, but missed, so I threw it again. And then just walked away not caring. So one day someone commented telling me to fill this dome thing up with water, so I was going to do it. My plan was to fill this section up first and then get in the other section, zip it up, and let it fill all the way until I was releasing it. But it started to leak through, which was running my plan. So I had to release early and let all the water out, and this is what it looked like. All the water did kind of rush in, and it made this cool little pool in the dome. It wasn't as much water as I wanted, but I still made the most of it and then left. Let me know what else I should do. So one day I went out to a pumpkin patch to get the biggest pumpkin they had. When I walked up, I saw a dog and thought it was nice, but it barked at me. So I just went along, looked at the pumpkins, and here was the biggest ones, the biggest being 30 pounds. But it wasn't actually, because this one weighed 45 pounds. I looked around at the other pumpkins and ended up getting this one and the giant 45-pound one. I put it in the car and then went home to think about what I was going to do with it. I had 4 ideas: carve it, put it on my head, destroy it with the rubber band ball, or blow it up. And I ended up destroying some other pumpkins with the rubber band ball. Slow motion. And then I put it on as a hat. So, like, if you want me to blow this pumpkin up, or comment what else you want me to do with it. So one day it was rubber band ball part 68, and the rubber band ball is now almost 700 pounds, but today we're going to get it there. And somebody in the last video commented to get colored rubber bands, so I got these black rubber bands so you can see them placed on the ball. And the cool thing about 2 different colors is you can see them all going onto the ball. And it took us quite a while, but eventually we got it done. And the ball looks really cool now. It looks kind of 3-dimensional. Look at it. The black bands are more sleek than the other ones. And the ball is so massive. Look at it in comparison to my head. Then I zeroed out the scale and put it back on, and it weighed 706 pounds. So, like, if I should keep on on adding bands. So it's now part 29 of this rubber band ball, and I guess I'm just going to keep going. I ordered another box of these thick rubber bands and put the whole pile on my ball. I then took a break and came back later to place all these colored rubber bands that are also supposed to be garbage bag rubber bands. I placed the entire pile and it was done. And it's now 72 pounds. I rolled it downstairs, outside, and into the cul-de-sac. Here it is in comparison to my head, and here's me trying to throw it. And look, the basketball hoop fell over, but I can stand on it. And like if you want me to keep on going.